Welcome everyone to this edition of City Chat with City Magazine. My name is Kylie Harmon and I'm the general manager for City Magazine. And today we are visiting with Susan Wagner, and you are the co-chair, for the Out of the Darkness Walk.
Yes.
And that is on October 1st of this year, am I correct?
Yes, it is.
So tell me, what is the Out of the Darkness Walk? What's the purpose of this?
The Out of the Darkness Walk is actually a nationally sponsored event by the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. And our North Dakota chapter has actually started the walks back in 2006 based in Fargo.
Okay.
And the Bismarck-Mandan Walk actually started 4 years ago. So this will be our fourth walk. And there are a number of other cities across our state that are also sponsoring walks this fall. So.
Oh, very cool. So how when did this organization come to North Dakota? In Fargo, you said, is when it began.
Yes, it's where it began. Actually, a family lost their daughter to suicide, and in their search for support and an attempt to heal themselves, they did some research and ran across the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention just in some internet search that they were doing. And as a result of that, they held their first walk in 2006 and then decided to work closely with the national chapter to form the National Association to form a North Dakota chapter. And as a result of the work of that family, the word has spread across North Dakota. And then others of us in various other communities across the state have joined in that effort.
So now what makes you want to join in this effort?
Well, part of it is certainly my background in social work, having done clinical work in the past, as well as worked for a number of years in juvenile corrections. And then part of my job at the Department of Human Services Division of Mental Health and Substance Abuse is to serve on the statewide Suicide Prevention Coalition and to be that liaison between the work that is being done in the state and our department.
Okay, so this is actually a tie-in then, in a sense.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
And when did you guys officially tie in together?
With the walk?
With the walk.
Actually, let's see, what I say, it was the fourth year. So that would have been in 2007 that I was invited to join the planning group that started here in Bismarck.
Okay, so where is the walk located at?
The walk is located at the state capitol. We hold it every year on the grounds of the state capitol.
And so is it like a 5K, 10K, or?
Well, actually, no. What we've done over the years is sort of modified the distance that people walk. First of all, depending on how far people want to walk and how far they're able. We have a number of elderly people that come, as well as, a number of young people with kids and strollers, and we're getting an increasing number of participants that also bring their pets with them.
Oh,
so
very
it's
fun.
kind of expanded over the years, and so basically we take that route from right in front of the Capitol ground steps, and we walk down south on the loop, and then we go through the trees, and then we follow up along 4th Street up to Divide Avenue, and then all the way down on State Street down to Boulevard, and then come back up the loop of the Capitol grounds.
Oh, and so that's just the course. You just do it one time. Okay.
Right, that's what we do. And then there was one year where we had kind of not so good weather, so we shortened it just a little bit because it was pretty cool and drizzly that one year. So,
it's what you have to do when it comes to an outdoor sort of an event or activity.
Yeah.
So now, who is all on the planning committee for this?
We have a number of people on the planning committee from the Department of Health is represented. We've had individuals who have also lost family members who are part of the planning committee. West Central Human Service Center, our division with the Department of Human Services. We have an individual from the University of Mary who's a nursing instructor that's been involved from the very beginning.
Oh, wow.
And then we have an individual who used to be the previous director for United Way, who now works for CAT Communications. So we have kind of a varied group of people that serve on the planning committee. National Guard is also represented.
Oh, very nice, very nice. So, what are some of the statistics for suicide in North Dakota? Because it seems to be happening more and more. It seems you hear more and more stories.
Yeah, it is. It's not a serious increase in terms of numbers, but what we say, and based on the data that the Department of Health collects every year, it's every 4th day in North Dakota someone takes their life. Oh. So when you hear that has an incredible impact, at least on me, when I listen to that. And in terms of the data, in last year, 2010, North Dakota ranked 9th in the nation for the number of suicides. And across the lifespan of all ages, there were 103 suicides last year. And what we're beginning to see is more of an increase in the age group of 10 to 24, as well as 65 and older. So there's an increasing concern about how do we provide information to certainly both of those age groups, as well as across the lifespan, like I said earlier.
So we rank number 9.
Yes, we do.
How is that possible when our economy is so good? And I mean, what are some of the reasons?
I think that's really a good question. And what I have learned from a lot of the individuals that I work really closely with on the planning committee and that I've met over the last 4 years is that really there's no one particular thing that correlates, I guess, to a person deciding to take their own lives. And even though, like you said, I think your question is good, when we take a look at our economy, we take a look at the job market,
the state
all those kinds
so
of things, we're doing very, very well. But what it is it's really an individual's response to whether it be trauma, a crisis in their life, certainly their mental health situation, and their willingness as well as their ability really to reach out for help. And a lot of the individuals that I've spoke to have said that if it's been a family member that they've lost or a very close friend, a spouse, a child, it's that people are very, very depressed. They're almost in a very close to a state of despair where they see no other option for themselves. But yet they mask that. Almost everybody that I've met that has experienced that loss says, I had no idea. I had no idea that someone that close to me could feel that hopeless and that desperate that they would choose to take their life rather than come to me and ask for help or to tell me that they're suffering.
I mean, it is one of those things where I remember when you hear of someone who would kill themselves, you kind of think it's, well, why would you do that? Why would you put it on the family? Why would you make them suffer? And I always kind of put, and I hate to say it, sort of some judgment towards that individual. But at the same time, then recently with some recent events and knowing someone who had committed suicide, it's like I can understand more that they were in such a state of mind where there was no more logical thinking.
Right. And they're not able to think about how that may impact other people close to them or their acquaintances. One of the other interesting and I think very concerning things that we've recently learned is that for every death by suicide, it impacts 6 individual people in an intimate manner. So when you think about that, and how the far-reaching impact of one person taking their life and what that does.
Those 6 people, and those 6 people all have friends and people that they're close to, so they're worried for that individual. Absolutely. And it just continues to span out.
Yes, it does. And schools, workplaces, communities, churches, all our affiliate, groups of people are impacted when something like that happens.
And now you said that it's statistic from 10 to 24 years of age.
Yes.
Is there any way to know kind of what the main reason is behind there? Is it bullying? Is it... Because, there's been such an increase in bullying, too, so you almost kind of wanted to deduce that.
Well, and I think when we hear of things like bullying, we hear of other traumatic kinds of things that young people experience. Those are certainly triggers. They're not necessarily an event in and of itself that may lead someone, to take their own life. Generally, if there's any kind of a psychological autopsy or something like that is done, if there is that kind of information available after a person takes their life, and looking back at that, you are able to develop more of an understanding about how someone makes that decision.
Gets to that point. No.
Gets to that point in their life, right?
Well, and you had said earlier, people don't ask for help. So how, and like you said, they're so good at masking their depression. So how are you supposed to know as an individual whether or not someone is close to that, and what are the warning signs?
I think what we really need to be keen to is to watch is if people's habits things that they normally do if there's a change in those kinds of things. I think we hear pretty consistently about if people are beginning to give things away that belong to them, if there's significant changes in their sleeping habits, their eating habits, those kinds of things, if there may be an increase in substance abuse. That is, another indication that somebody may really be struggling and having a difficult time in their lives, and seem to be able to choose that as opposed to seeking help, for themselves. Those kinds of things. Change in mood.
Okay.
Behaviors that may seem odd, making statements that seem out of context for how that person normally talks, how they normally act, how you normally think that they may feel about certain kinds of things.
And it's one of those things, too. I mean, you can't because everybody has down days.
Yes.
And it might be a little bit longer period of time, but they might not be nowhere near close to the I thought I'm going to kill myself.
Right.
So I guess, what do you do in that sense? Because, there's so many people that you are close with that maybe they are feeling well. How do you start approaching the subject? Well, are you thinking about killing yourself? And how do you do that?
Yeah. Well, and I think, to think about doing that is you certainly, a person would ask those, questions or be concerned about a friend if you see, some of the changes in a person's behavior or, how they think and feel and do things. So I think it is important to be very supportive and to be a good friend. But if you have that concern, definitely to ask that question. How are you doing? Are there things that you're upset about in your life? And if they begin to talk about, I've been really down about this or that, and I'm not quite sure what to do. I don't know how to handle that. To ask, have you thought about talking to somebody about that?
Do you ask the question? Are you thinking?
Yes.
Have you thought? Okay.
Yes, you do.
Okay.
Ask that question. And I think then the important thing is, when you are concerned about somebody, to also know, well, if they say, yes, I am thinking about that, then what do I do then? How do I help somebody? And I think at that point, it's, what you would do is, there are a number of crisis lines, that are available. The 211 number in North Dakota also operates a suicide hotline that they connect directly to one. But there is also local help in terms of each one of our human service centers across the state have an after-hours crisis line, as well as somebody available during the day also to talk to someone who may call in.
Okay, and is that person for the person who...
Yes.
Like, what do I do to help this person, or is that the individual?
That would be both.
Both? Okay.
Yes, you could call and ask for both. Absolutely.
Wow. So where can people find those numbers?
Well, the 211 numbers, you simply dial 211.
And that's easy.
Yeah. And then when the call or the person at the other end of the line answers, and you could say, I'm calling because I'm very concerned about a friend who's thinking about suicide. I live, in Bismarck. Who can I call locally to help me? And then they have a directory, or they have an ongoing list of services that they keep current, so they would know who in turn to refer the person to.
So it's more like a switchboard.
Yes.
In a sense.
Yes.
Well, that's interesting.
They're also trained though to respond to people who call in to say, I'm thinking of killing myself.
Okay.
Excuse me. They're also, like I just said, trained to help those people as well. And then they also serve as a resource, for other calls.
Well, what if that all of a sudden, out of the blue, your friend calls you up and says, I'm thinking of killing myself? What should you do?
What I would do is, if that were me, I would ask them where they are, what they're doing. Do you want me to come help you? And then